Hey friends, let's talk about chewing gum for a moment. Nathan and Sons asked that I run this ad for them, and my first thought was, if this isn't really healthy, good stuff, I don't want to do it. I'd had their gum already, and I found it kind of unique and fresh, but I wanted to make sure that it was a product that I could stand behind. So I looked into it, I looked at all their ingredients, I looked at the product, and actually I'm very impressed. It's quickly apparent that this isn't regular gum. This is remineralizing gum. That's a mouthful. You brush your teeth in the morning and at night, but after lunch there's this gap where most of us do nothing for our teeth. Underbrush is made for that moment. You chew it for 5 or 10 minutes, then spit it out and move on. Or, of course, you can keep chewing it. It's good gum. It's made with hydroxyapatite. It's the same mineral that your enamel is made from. And natural saps, this is a cool part, like mastic and spruce. So it has this firmer, really satisfying chew. They actually make it themselves from scratch. The company is only a few years old, and the team is literally making, packing, and shipping gum every day. So if you want a simple daily upgrade for your teeth, check out Underbrush from Nathan & Sons. Hey, a brief coming-of-age story. When I was 17, my mom and dad and my sister and I decided to do an extended family road trip. We made it as far south as Carlsbad, as far west as Sequoia National Park and Yosemite National Parks. We made it as far north as Glacier National Park. But there, I split off from the family. They went home, and I went to Seattle. I met my friend Jason. He and I traveled all the way across Canada, down the eastern seaboard in a 1968 Volkswagen, and we camped in a tent the whole way across the North American continent. I came back changed. In many ways, I left home a boy and returned home a man. It was life-impacting. We didn't fly over the North American continent. We traveled through it. If you would like to connect the dots of this continent, then today's sponsor is here to help. I'm talking about Outdoorsy, of course. Outdoorsy has thousands of RVs and campers nationwide. They're available right in your neighborhood, and you can drive it yourself, you can tow it, you can actually have it delivered and fully set up your destination if you want to. They have comprehensive insurance, 24/7 customer service, roadside assistance, so you have built-in peace of mind. It's a great value. It's often less expensive than hotels, and it allows for a really fun family and group approach to travel. It's available to renters 21 years and older. So get your RV in 3 simple steps. You search through the inventory and choose one that's right for your trip and your group size. Book it with confidence and hit the road. It's that easy. This summer is massive. Think about this. The big international soccer tournament coming to North America. America's 250th anniversary with celebrations across the country. The 100th anniversary of Route 66. It's one of the most iconic road trip routes ever, and I have traveled much of that. It's really cool. An RV isn't just transportation, it's how you can stay closer to the action. Think for a moment about family reunions in RVs. How about traveling with parents or grandkids, friends, or even pets? How about getting closer to the trailhead or the river or the beach than the hotel allows? And how fun would it be to have an RV for music festival weekends? And you can save money by using the code ASP when you book your RV. Right now, my listeners can have all the service fees removed from their booking in 2026 with the code ASP at Outdoorsy.com. That's OUTDOORSY.com, and use the code ASP at checkout to remove those service fees. Why not take the time to actually see this amazing nation we live in and let Outdoorsy.com make it easier for you?
You're listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. Thanks for adventuring with us as we discover what incredible athletes and outdoor enthusiasts are doing all over the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. This is Caleb. You can find mountain bike races in a lot of places these days. They're super fun to participate in, and they're also really fun to watch. It's fun to grab your cowbell and get after it, supporting the racers. In today's revisited episode, though, I've got a mountain bike race, which definitely stands out. It is the highest mountain bike race in the world, and it takes place in Nepal's Himalayas. In this episode, Mason interviews Tyler McMahon, whose journey in mountain bike racing started when he took a trip to Nepal. And that trip inspired him to start organizations, particularly the Yak Attack race, to support rainwater harvesting for Nepalese families, among other water projects. I hope you enjoy this episode. Here's Mason.
Tyler McMahon, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good. Well, tell us where you're coming from today. You're not calling from Nepal, I don't think, and unless you pulled one over on me real quick. But where are you coming from today? And is that home for you?
Yeah, it's mostly home. I'm calling from Denver, Colorado. I was born and raised and grew up in Colorado. Spent my whole life here, so I'm hanging out in Denver the past about 8 months so far, and technically it's home for me.
So you've seen a lot of change over your lifetime, then. Oh, how are you feeling about it? Is that why you're in Nepal most of the time?
No, I miss Colorado actually when I'm there. I love Colorado. I love its climate, and I love the adventures. And I think a lot of the change is good, but there's a lot of stuff that's pushing the locals out because of raised prices and second homes and things like that. And after they legalized pot, there was a lot of people that came in and didn't really respect Colorado, I think, for a bit. And I think that's improved now that more states have legalized it, thankfully. So there's, but it's growing really fast. And I think I have mostly positive, but definitely some mixed opinions about it.
Oh, I can imagine. Well, tell us, you grew up there. I assume you were into some adventure sports pretty young, or from a family, or just got into the mountains pretty young.
I grew up in the mountains. I grew up in Fairplay, Colorado. A lot of people won't know that name. You'll know South Park, of course. I went to South Park High School. The show is not actually based on our town. They're from down the road. But it's right in the center of Colorado. It's about 10,000 feet. So I've been in the mountains since I was 5. So I started skiing from when I was 6. Started running when I was 12. Switched to snowboarding, but basically my years were whatever sport the high school had to offer, because it was a small school, except football. I didn't play football, but basketball and track. And then we'd go home, and after finish homework, we would snowboard on little hills, or obviously go to the resorts on the weekends. So I grew up doing both endurance running, long distance running, and snowboarding until I went to college. And that's where I picked up mountain biking as kind of a way to get the adrenaline and keep my endurance up. Been doing that ever since.
Wow. What a cool part of the state. I love that part of the state. A lot of people are driving through Fairplay to go to somewhere else, but you're right. I mean, you're in the mountains and in a rugged part too. Like it feels like that area specifically to me feels like rural Montana or something. You're out there.
Yeah, that is definitely. I mean, it's a large ranching community, so it's rural, and it's a beautiful place. And I like seeing it get more recognition, but I also like that there are not a lot of crowds there. But you never want to get stuck there in a snowstorm or a windstorm. It's probably one of the windiest and hardest places to drive in the country when something like that hits.
I can definitely attest. Been stuck there before. When did you, or how did you start getting interested in going to Nepal and making that such a big part of your life? And also, does the area in Nepal you work in feel similar to home in a way?
Yeah. So I grew up hiking a lot. I've hiked all the 14ers around Fairplay, and I wanted to get into mountaineering. I never really did. But when I went to college, I was still interested in the culture behind it, and I wanted to study abroad, and I thought, why not go to Nepal or Tibet or something like that? I was pretty naive on it, and I found a program on the School for International Training that was a semester program in Nepal studying culture and development, which was kind of perfect fit for my economics focus, where I was studying economics and environmental economics. So I chose to do that in the first semester of 2006, and I ended up in Nepal for 4 months, and I fell in love with the country. We were there when the king finally gave up at the end of the Civil War, and Nepal transitioned into what you could describe mostly as a democracy. And while I was there, I mean, we went to the mountains, we did everything, but I did a bit of a research project on the water systems in Kathmandu and developed a Fulbright scholarship. So when I graduated college, I actually won the Fulbright scholarship to go back to Nepal and got to spend another 10 months there. And that's kind of how my adventures there started. And I got to mountain bike a lot when I was on Fulbright. So I kind of been there pretty much ever since. It feels, in some ways, it's like home. I think you gain elevation really fast, but Nepal is also more geographically diverse. So you have everywhere as low as 1,000 feet above sea level, and it can go above 100 degrees on a regular basis. And you obviously have Mount Everest, and it's like if you drove from Denver to Fairplay, that same distance, you go from 1,000 feet to go to the top of Mount Everest almost as the crow flies. So it is similar, but it's also in a lot of ways a lot hotter and a little bit different like that way. So I actually took me a while to get used to the heat of Nepal, of Kathmandu.
Oh, that's so interesting. So what would you say about the experience there kept you coming back or kept you staying? What was intriguing you about Nepal?
I mean, I love the people. I'm now married to Nepali, but I think that was a byproduct of me coming back. I liked what I was doing. I was working on water, and I saw a lot of opportunities to help, not help as in charitable help, but like actually start a company around rainwater collection and water filtration. So I wanted to work on that after my Fulbright. So I stuck around trying different ways to work on that, and I ended up with the UN for a bit. In the interim, got involved in some solar stuff, and then eventually ended up starting my own company in 2011. That and mountain biking. I got really close to the Nepali mountain bike community, and they're a really impressive group of people. They started off on very simple bikes, and now some of them are elite. I know people, Nepalis, who competed in the marathon distance, world championships, the Enduro World Series, and they can ride like really well, and they train really hard. So I was riding like 2 to 3 hours a day every morning before work. And I think it was a combination of both those that kept me there. After I started my business, obviously I'm there. I've been there since.
I'm always impressed with folks that start a business in another country that they're not from or not used to. What was that like? I know it's kind of off topic of adventure sports, but I'm just curious.
I mean, it's hard to compare to here because I've not started a company here yet. I was entrepreneurial high school, but I never started a company. But one thing I think that was most important about it was I developed a network. So my business partner I met through Toastmasters, and our other partners who were technician plumbers, I had met them through my research in Fulbright and stayed in touch. So starting a business wasn't that challenging. Now, as a foreigner married to Nepali, there's a bit of gray area around on how to operate the business with foreign investment and everything like that. And that's where it's a bit challenging. And the laws are constantly changing. As I mentioned, in 2006, the king gave up and became a democracy. So every time a new government comes, which the government changes there like almost every year, some new policies introduced and things. So there are some ups and downs. I just think there's a lot of opportunity because of how the population is. How I really enjoy working with the people of Nepal, And there are a lot of problems to solve. And I think it's not just about charity. It's a lot about creating jobs. We employ 25 people there. So that's been a positive side of it, I think.
How did you see the problem that your business is solving? Is it just like you said? There's just a lot of problems to solve? You chose to focus on one of those problems.
Yeah, so my research on my Fulbright was about the economics of urban rainwater collection. So basically, the issue in Kathmandu and a lot of growing cities in Asia is they don't have snowmelt fed water sources, or they're reliant on groundwater. So I'd say about 20% of the population has to buy water in trucks, and another 40 to 50% are reliant on wells and deep bore wells. So the municipal government supply can only meet a certain part of the demand. And as a result, a lot of people have bought a lot of tanks. And also, none of the water that comes out of the tap is drinkable. And almost none of the wastewater is treated. So there's an opportunity to kind of create a set of solutions, a lot of which nonprofits were already kind of working on. But none of them had linked it to business opportunities. And I saw that people were paying so much for water that it was an opportunity to provide them a much more sustainable and modern solution using localized technology that could save people money. And for example, a household that was buying a truck of water, like a 2,500 gallon truck of water, can pay that back, the cost of their rainwater collection system, to substitute 6 months of purchases. They can pay that back in 2 years. And similarly, a house that's boiling their water, if instead they put in a water filter, can pay that back, the cost of gas back, in under a year. So there's a lot of opportunity to build the value chain to provide those solutions and employ a lot of Nepalis who right now would be going to the Middle East, because plumber and technical tradespeople end up in the Middle East building the World Cup stadium or something like that. So that's kind of where we saw the gap.
So fascinating, so interesting, and something you would have to pick up on as you spend time there. Oh, wow! So, well, let's switch gears to mountain biking, the main sport that you were into, or that you're into while you're there. What was that like? What is mountain biking in Nepal like? I mean, that's such a big question. I'm sure it's just absolutely incredible everywhere you look. Is it pretty well established?
It is now, for sure. When I started there in 2007, 2008 on my Fulbright, there were maybe 50 to 100 casual mountain bikers. There was a group of 5 to 7 who were really, really talented and really good. And I became pretty good friends with them. So we used to ride every morning, as I said, and they were dedicated. I remember one time on my Fulbright riding 14 out of 15 days for 2 to 3 hours every morning before going out to do my research at 9 a.m. That's how dedicated they are. And the trails there, it's a mix. Like you have paved roads, but then you have a lot of unpaved roads that, are dirt, 4-wheel drive. And then you have a lot of walking paths, whether it's between the rice paddy terraces or whether it's going down a hill that is, some of the steeper hills you've seen. So, and then also it's become popular as a tourism sport. So a lot of bike routes go on the trekking routes, and those trails are a bit more developed, but in some places they're not. So it's diverse, and it's becoming more and more developed. They have an event every year called the Kathmandu Kora, which a Kora means to circle around a Buddhist religious site. So they ride in between 30 to 60 miles, depending on the group. And I think the participation numbers in the last year they had it, obviously 2 years ago before COVID, was over 1,000 people actually participated in that. And most of them completed the 30-mile version of it. So that's how much it's changed.
Wow. Yeah. That is awesome. Well, what can you say about, all right, that's just the trails and participation. Tell us about some of the events you started doing. What did I know you've done the Yak Attack 6 times. Was that the first thing you did, or did you build up to that? And what is that?
So I didn't do that first. I started just doing the local races, and a local cross country race was like 20 to 40 miles through like a lot of terrain, 3 to 4 hours, brutal, beat you up stuff. And I got pretty good at those. And I decided that I wanted to take the next step. And there was Yak Attack, which just started. And then there was another one in India. I think it was 7 days at the time, called MTB Himansal. So I decided to do that one first because I think I had a scheduling conflict with Yak Attack, and also Yak Attack felt at that time a bit more intimidating than that race. So I signed up for the one in India, and I trained. An unnecessary amount. I was riding 120 miles minimum every week on dirt, road, trails. So like 15, 20 hours a week minimum. And like that was, now I know, too much. But I did the race and I did well. I had a couple bad days, but my teammate and I, we did decent in the duo category. And we held our own, and the Nepalis won it, which was great. And then 2 years later, I managed to free up my schedule and do the Yak Attack. And that was a whole different experience, and I was hooked. So to elaborate, the Yak Attack is now in its 14th version, I think. So it started in 2007. And it started as a race around the Annapurna circuit. So the Annapurna circuit is a 14 to 21 day trek if you're walking around the Annapurna mountain range. And it's probably the most popular trek in Nepal. And a guy named Phil Evans teamed up with some Nepalis to start the race and basically mountain bike around it. And when it started, it was a lot of walking trails. So there was a lot of hike-a-bike. And you go from 2,000 feet to 17,500 feet. When I started it, when I started doing it in 2012, it had been modified a bit. So the distance had been extended. So you actually rode from Kathmandu to the circuit and then rode the circuit in 10 days. And the distance from Kathmandu to the circuit itself was over 150 miles. And then the circuit is another 150 miles. And there were like 2 to 3 hours of hike-a-bike each day. And then obviously getting up to the pass, going from 14,000 to 17,000 feet, you're carrying your bike for a normal semi-elite athlete 2.5 to 3 hours up for 2 to 3 miles. And some people take as long as 6 just to get up. So it's really diverse. It's not as hard as I just made it sound, to encourage other people to participate, because we've actually seen a lot of people set a goal for a year out and do the race. A lot of people who are moderate mountain bikers. But that's a description. And it's evolved. So now it's stopped going from Kathmandu, and now it just does the circuit, but explores a lot of side trails. So now it's a 7-day race with a couple of side loops and a lot more single track again. Less hike-a-bike because they built a Jeep road. It's still no picnic climbing up that road. But that's what it is right now.
So are most of the hiking trails, the popular hiking routes, trekking routes in Nepal, are they also cyclable?
They, up until recently, didn't allow you to cycle to Everest Base Camp. I think they may have started to change that. I do know some people who carried their bike up or helicopter, I can't remember, to base camp and rode back down. But a lot of them, yeah, you can cycle. Riding the Annapurna circuit is a fairly popular tour. Manaslu, which is another one of the highest mountains in the world, there is a circuit around that. That's also a mountain bike tour. It's a little more advanced. Again, a lot of hike-a-bike, but also a lot of really, really good riding.
Tell us about you doing the Yak Attack, in the sense of, like, do you have any stories? How did it go for you?
Oh, yeah.
Anything interesting happen out there for you?
So the Yak Attack, it used to happen in March, which meant that it was kind of the end of winter, but you could still get snowed on. And the first year I did it, there was a bit of snow going up to 17,000 feet and some ice patches and stuff going down. And that descent, it scared me. And I had a nice little crash on it. I got up to the top pretty far up in the pack. I think I was fifth to the top. By the time I was done, I was eighth or ninth, and I could have been a lot further behind. I'm a bad descender. I think that pass has taught me how. The next year, we went over that pass in 3 feet of snow. So you were like literally sliding down the pass, holding your bike up above your head, punching through waist deep snow. It was a lot of fun. The next year, it was the same thing except with an ice layer on top of the snow. That was not fun. I got up to the top fast because it was pretty easy, but then going down was one of the I don't know. Some people just flew down, but I despite being from Colorado, something got to me that year. But now we've switched it to November, and it's usually not covered in snow, and it's one of the most epic descents. And justifies. I mean, I bought a dropper post on my mountain bike in 2016. I had waited for a long time because I thought they weren't reliable. And that thing changed my life. And I rode from the top to the bottom almost without getting off my bike and said, oh, this is good. This is the best change in the race. And I've had a variety of experience. I've watched somebody have heat stroke in the low stages and helped them out. Hiking a bike. I remember like a 3-hour long hike one day, chatting with somebody, chatting with friends in the race because the road had, the Army was working on the road and they didn't tell us and they closed the road. So we had to do the hike a bike around it that we weren't planning on doing it. And they had to neutralize that part of the stage. And it's the camaraderie in the race is great. You're doing one of the hardest races in the world, but you get to meet some really, really interesting people.
Man, what an adventure. You've done it 6 times now. Has there ever been a time where you mentioned the snow, the differences in the weather? Have you ever come across anything pretty unusual, pretty unique to Nepal, I guess you could say, or anything that's been a major obstacle on any of the yak attacks?
At least 2 stages have been closed because of unplanned road construction. They just decided to close the road. That is South Asia, a lot of Nepal thing. I don't know how to describe it, but it's an amazing race that something different probably happens every year. And up until recently, it was never won by a foreigner. Until a guy named Corey Wallace, who's the mountain bike 24-hour world champion, he came in 2014 the first time, and like pretty much every other professional that's come, he had some stomach bug. Most of the normal people that come don't get it, but for some reason the professional racer, their first time they come, they get sick. I don't know. They got used to. They don't anymore. I can explain why later. But the 2 years later, he came back, and he came back 2 weeks early and just camped out at high altitude and went and set the course record. And then the top Nepali went from being a racer to decided to actually join the business of the race. So he's actually been helping out. So it's a lot more competitive now. And it's a lot of fun.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Are you planning to do it more? Let's take a quick message break and hear from the folks that help make this show possible. That is plenty of that for now. Let's get back into the episode.
I don't know about this year. We're not making. I say we because I also help out a little bit with partnerships and stuff for the race, both locally and internationally. We're not sure whether it will happen because of COVID. So we'll make a decision about 6 weeks out because 6 weeks will give you enough time to be able to tell whether there's going to be a third wave in the pace of the third wave in the country. But I definitely plan to do it again and probably multiple times. Whether it's this year, personally might be unlikely because I'd probably still be in the U.S. But it's definitely one of my favorite races. So hopefully I'll do it again.
Tell us what do you think the scene of mountain biking is doing in Nepal? Is it going to continue to grow? COVID pending, is it going to bounce back and continue to rise, or is it going other places? Based on what you know, what can you tell us?
Well, I hope 2 things happen. So there's a good race scene. There was, and I hope to see more regular local domestic races. A lot of Nepalis they have world class talent, so the ability to race on a regular basis is good for them. And there needs to be a new generation of that. There's a really fast growing enduro scene. There's a rider who there's been a video made of him called RJ Ripper. He's a world class downhill rider. I mean, the stuff he can do on that bike, and he's also sponsored by Yeti Cycles. So I hope to see more international brands coming in and sponsoring local riders because they're really talented. I mean, some of these guys are giving names like Corey Wallace a run for their money in long distance races. I mean, Yak Attack had a sister race in Sri Lanka called Rumble in the Jungle, and Nepali guys always come in on the podium with professionals from other countries in that race. And they've been to Europe and won races. So I hope to see that happening. And then mountain biking as tourism it's one of the faster growing tourism sectors in Nepal. So I think that will continue. And I hope they expand outside of just a couple core areas where trips are and start doing areas more in the east and western Nepal. That's one thing about Nepal is everybody knows it from the 8,000 meter peaks, especially Mount Everest. But Nepal is, I believe, the second most biodiverse and first most geographically diverse country in the world. And from the far east to the far west, it's beautiful everywhere. So I hope to see mountain biking tours and adventurers go more places. And same with trekkers, everybody. I mean, I've been to the majority of the districts in Nepal personally, and I've never not been knocked off my feet by the beauty.
We had a guest recently not recently, this was literally like a year or two ago, but he went to do a first descent of a river via paddleboarding in Nepal, and was in like the foothills the whole time. It was like incredible. We absolutely loved it. And it was like, oh yeah, there's other things to do there besides trekking and climbing the world's tallest mountains. There's so much there. And so that's really cool to hear someone else say that as well.
I mean, even the Kathmandu Valley, it's one of the fastest growing cities in the world. So the pollution is horrible, but when it's not polluted, like, you could put together a stage race just within the Kathmandu Valley and have six different amazing race days every day. There's so many trails. A lot of them are unfortunately being turned into roads unnecessarily, some necessary, but like Kathmandu itself in May, before the monsoon really kicks in, but after the winter, so the pollution's leveled off and the air is much cleaner. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I love it. Like there, I love the hills.
How far are the mountains from Kathmandu?
Maybe 50 miles north, 40, 50 miles north, and you can get pretty high. I mean, Kathmandu itself is surrounded by hills, 10,000, 12,000 feet, right? 12,000 feet is the highest, about a little less. But then you go over a valley, you drop back down to 1,200 feet, and then you basically just keep going straight up until 21,000 feet. Obviously, you can't get that high as a trekker. You have to be a climber, but it's not that far. Like I could bike to the base camp of some of the treks in 8 hours or something.
Wow. Similar to Denver a little bit. It's not too far. It's just out there in the distance on the horizon.
Yeah. Outside of the humidity and the monsoon, it is very similar to Colorado in a lot of ways.
Wow, that's interesting. That's awesome. What do you see internationally? Are there a lot of folks more and more? I mean, the word about Nepal has been out for so long, but are you seeing just more and more towards more and more folks settling there, almost like you, splitting time even?
Yeah, I mean, I think tourism has been growing. The earthquake slowed it down for a bit, but I believe before COVID, we were crossing 1 million tourists a year, which is not a lot. But at the same time, if a lot more come, that's why I say I hope they spread out a bit more, because as the guy who did the stand-up paddleboarding and others note, the foothills, like you don't even need to go to the mountains. So I hope to see more. There are a lot of expatriates like me. It's not Nepal's government makes it a little challenging sometimes. I'm married to a Nepali who has her own story. We're like, so for me, I'm allowed to live there year round, but I have to go renew my visa every year. So there are obstacles like that do prevent a lot of foreigners from, like, say, settling there, which is a mixed thing. I mean, I think some foreigners going there and settling just to help or, be missionaries and things like that, maybe those aren't necessary. Like, a lot of people go there and think that just because they're from the West that they know everything, want to impose their ideas. And running a business that is mostly Nepal ideas by Nepali staff, I've been on the other end of that, and that's also not very pleasant. So I can see why the government is a little bit protective, although that's not the reason they are, I think. So, but I do see a good growth in tourism, and that makes me happy that a lot more tourists are going.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share before we go? What are your plans with being there or in the country? And anything else you want to share?
I mean, I know I described Yak Attack as a hard race, and it is, but it's an awesome race, and I hope to see more participants in the future, because I've seen a lot of people, a lot of expats in Nepal who are there, for 2 or 3 years for a organizational thing, and they'll start out by basic mountain biking and be able to train and do the Yak Attack within a year. And I hope that Yak Attack and other races and other events and more people come and visit Nepal and see the beauty of the country and the beauty of the people. Me personally, I've been in Nepal, since 2007, really pretty much every year. This is the first time I've been back in the U.S. for more than 3 to 4 months. And I think my company's it has a good path. I have a good business partner. I have a great team, multiple good, I have 2 business partners who are excellent. And I have a core senior team who have really taken it to the next level. So, and I'm also looking at maybe, I won't say settling back here, but just coming back here and seeing how my skill set around sustainability and business fit into the U.S. in solar and things like that, either part-time as well, while continuing to support the growth of what I do in Nepal. And mountain biking everywhere. I'd like to do some more races. I've done, like I mentioned, I've done the one in Sri Lanka. I've done quite a few in Colorado, a few multiple times. But I'd like to get back into the race scene here and have some more fun and do some bike packing and marathons and long backpacking trips and stuff too.
Bike packing, that's my sport of choice. Just don't have the time to do it right now. It's like, gosh, I need 2 to 3 weeks, and I just can't do that with a full-time job, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I have a dog that I brought from Nepal with me. She's been back a couple times, and she's a street dog, but she loves mountain biking. If I leave with my mountain bike without her, she gets grumpy. I went on a bike packing trip. We might not have a good relationship after that, so I might have to lean, fast pack running or something like that to be able to bring the dog with me. She's gone from being a street dog to an adventure dog who's done the Yak Attack, by the way. She came with us, walked over the pass, and then she left with the support crew, walked over the pass, and we left a couple hours later because we were on bikes. And I passed her about, 100, 200 meters from the summit, and she escaped from the support crew and started chasing me down the pass. And then ever since then, haven't let me leave on my mountain bike without her. So
how did she fare on the whole Yak Attack?
Yeah, she went in the vehicle, and then she hiked the parts that vehicles didn't go. And as Yak Attack, we also do a lot of support for street dogs through an organization called Helping Paws. So both in Sri Lanka and Nepal, a lot of work spaying and neutering, arranging adoptions, and cleaning up, the local breeds. A couple of Nepali mountain bike racers have adopted local dogs off the street from our efforts and stuff like that. So it's good representation bringing a former street dog around the course.
Got me excited to go to Nepal. I've never been, and it's
beautiful.
Been something we've talked about, I bet, on 50 episodes on this show, and it's obviously something that's thrown around a lot in the adventure world, and for a good reason.
I mean, the rafting scene is growing. Some of the toughest rivers in the world. Like Nepal is a lot more than the mountains. The culture is amazing. Biking is great. But even just going there and driving around the country, like, and just seeing the different areas, and then you have the jungles and safaris and rhinos and elephants, and said biodiversity is second to probably Costa Rica.
Yeah, highest point obviously Mount Everest. Lowest point 194 feet. If that doesn't show you some diversity there in a country probably the size of Florida, you know.
Yeah, and the temperatures are up in the range of Arizona's high temperatures and humid.
It's unreal. Gosh, I can't imagine the diversity you see in such a relatively short space, or a small space in short amount of time when traveling.
100 different languages spoken, I believe. I can't remember the last number. Unfortunately, there's some going extinct. Like, I speak Nepali fluently, and there are people that I can't talk with, or who are from such a different region. It's a tiny country. Like, I go to the far west, and they'll speak Nepali, but the accent is hard. And sometimes Kathmandu-based Nepalis will go to the far west, and I will almost have an easier time discussing with them because of the foreign. Well, I haven't been there in a while. My accent's a little better now, but as a foreigner, I had a weird accent. They had a different accent. People in Kathmandu had a different accent, so I almost had an easier time communicating in my Nepali. That's how diverse the country is.
That's so cool. Well, when do you think you'll be going back?
Supposed to go back in October, but that might change. Probably will change. It's not because of COVID. It's just because I just need to maybe explore new things and see if there's different ways to do different things. I haven't been in the U.S. for a long time in a while, so might be a year or so. But I'm on the phone every day with Nepal, so might not be there, but part of me is always.
That's awesome. Well, Tyler, thanks for joining the Adventure Sports Podcast. I'm always interested to hear about different parts of the world and getting folks to get out there and have some fun and somewhere else they've never been.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to the show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to grow in the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/Adventure Sports Podcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.